Seriously, the Aardman films might seem all sunshine and rainbows and talking animals, but sometimes when a bad guy meets their end, things get dark. We've got falls, we've got crushing, we've got, well, you'll see. All right, let's start with the ones who got a second chance, who broke free from their dark paths, or who achieved their wildest dreams in the most unexpected ways. First up, let's talk about the most wholesome villain turnaround in Aardman history, the cooker from A Grand Day Out. Calling this guy a villain is a stretch. I know, but he was the antagonist, the obstacle standing between Wallace and Gromit and their cheesy moon picnic. This gas cooker on wheels was basically the moon's security guard, and he took his job very seriously. When Wallace and Gromit show up and start littering and munching on the moon cheese, the cooker goes into full-on enforcement mode. He confiscates their picnic stuff, slaps a parking ticket on their rocket ship, and even gets ready to whack Wallace with his little truncheon for the crime of unauthorized cheese consumption. But here's where it gets beautiful. Inside their confiscated belongings, the cooker finds a magazine all about skiing, and he gets so caught up in this dream that when Wallace and Gromit are blasting off to go home, he makes a desperate run for their rocket. He's not trying to hurt them anymore. He's trying to hitch a ride to a planet with, presumably, better slopes. He fails, tragically, breaking into the rocket's base only to accidentally light the fuse and get blown backward. For a second, it's heartbreaking, but in the chaos, he managed to grab 2 metal strips from the rocket's hull. And what can you do with 2 metal strips on a giant ball of cheese? You make skis. The final shot we get of this guy is him joyfully, gracefully sliding across the moon's surface, living his absolute best life. He even waves goodbye to Wallace and Gromit, from a grumpy security guard to a ski legend. He found his bliss. Next, let's talk about the ultimate underdog, the man who suffered in silence for years, the one and only Mr. Willard Tweety from Chicken Run. Oh, Mr. Tweety. This guy is less of a villain and more of a victim for most of the movie. He's married to the terrifying, the tyrannical, the truly evil Militia Tweety. She is the warden of their chicken prison farm, and he is her long-suffering, constantly abused lackey. He's bumbling, he's clumsy, but he's not stupid. He's the one who knows something is up. He's the one who mutters to himself, "The chickens are organized, I know it." And is he listened to? No. His wife, the so-called brains of the operation, dismisses him at every turn, calling him delusional and stupid, constantly undermining his confidence. She treats him like dirt, hitting him, yelling at him, making his life a living nightmare. He just wants to please her, but nothing is ever good enough. He follows her orders, he patrols the coop with his dogs, he foils escape attempt after escape attempt, and what does he get for it? A pie to the face, a boot to the backside, more verbal abuse? The entire movie, the chickens are planning their great escape, and he's the only one who sees it coming. When he finally gets the proof, when he walks in and sees them building their flying machine with his tools, they attack him, they tie him up, they stuff his own hat in his mouth and shove him under a hut. Absolute humiliation. But the real redemption, the moment that makes you want to stand up and cheer, comes at the very end. The chickens have escaped, the farm is in ruins, and Mrs. Tweety, in her final desperate attempt to stop them, has ended up getting blasted by her own exploding pie machine. She's covered in gravy. Her dreams of industrial chicken pie wealth shattered. And Mr. Tweety, unharmed, opens the barn door and sees her. And what does he do? He doesn't help her. He doesn't cower. He finally says what he's been thinking all along. I told you they was organized. And when she, even in defeat, musters up a furious growl, he decides he's had enough. He pushes the massive barn door down right on top of her. He is a redeemed man who escaped his own prison, and you absolutely love to see it. Let's move on to a more official, heartwarming redemption with Agent Red from a Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon. Now, Red is a fascinating case. She's not your typical take over the world villain. Her whole deal, her entire reason for being, is aliens. She runs this whole government organization, the Ministry of Alien Detection, or MAD, which is just a perfect acronym. She's got the suit, the sunglasses, the severe bun, the whole intimidating secret agent looked down to a science. Her whole mission is to find and capture aliens. But why? We find out that this isn't about power or malice. It's about validation. When she was just a little kid, she saw an alien spaceship land. She saw 2 actual aliens, Lula's parents, right there in front of her. So what does she do? She draws a picture of what she saw and takes it to school, ready to blow everyone's minds. But they laugh at her. Her classmates, her peers, they don't believe her. And in that moment, a little girl's wonder turns into a lifelong burning obsession. Her entire career, her whole MAD organization, it's all built on that one moment of childhood humiliation to prove that she was right all along. So when Lula crash lands on Earth, Red goes into overdrive. She gets so so close, so many times. She's frustrated, she fails, she chases them to the Farmageddon theme park, and she even uses this giant robot to hunt them down on a tower. She is laser focused on her goal. But then, Lula's parents actually arrive, and Red doesn't capture them. She doesn't gloat. She has this sudden, beautiful change of heart. She welcomes them. The movie doesn't tell us what happens to her or her organization, but it doesn't need to. We know she's found peace. She got the one thing she always wanted, and it set her free. A true, heartfelt redemption. Okay, now this next category is for the villains who, let's be honest, probably should have gotten it a lot worse. They escaped a truly grim fate and instead got a slap on the wrist. You look at what they did and you look at what happened to them, and you just have to shake your head and say, dude, you got off easy. Let's start with the absolute champions of getting away with it. The pigs from the Shaun the Sheep franchise. These guys are just awful. They are constantly bullying the sheep, cheating, and generally being the worst neighbors imaginable. They literally try to enslave the entire flock. In the movie, after the farmer disappears into the big city, they immediately take over the entire farmhouse. They are greedy, naughty, dim-witted thieves. And what happens to them? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. When everyone gets back to the farm at the end of the movie, the pigs just leave, presumably to go be jerks somewhere else. They get away with everything, every single time. Right alongside them are Mr. Bonzo and Fido, Mr. Tweety's guard dogs from Chicken Run. Now look, are they evil? No, they're dogs, but they are antagonists. They are the first line of defense in the Tweety's prison farm. They are vigilant, determined, and vicious, chasing down any chicken who dares to make a break for it. They corner Ginger, they foil escape plans. One of them even bites the head off a garden gnome she tries to use as a weapon. They are legitimately terrifying to the chickens. So what happens to these hard-working henchhounds? Do they get captured, sent to the pound? Nope. At the end of the movie, after the giant gravy explosion that takes out Mrs. Tweety and the pie machine, the last we see of Mr. Bonzo and Fido is them happily licking up all the excess gravy from the ground. That's their punishment, a delicious, savory feast. Good boys, maybe, but they definitely got off easy. And speaking of getting off easy, let's talk about Le Frog from Flushed Away. This guy is a French mercenary, a hired gun, or rather, a hired frog. He's the Toad's cousin, tasked with hunting down Roddy and Rita to get the master cable back. He's got his team of hench frogs, he's got the attitude, and he's presented as a serious threat. He pursues them down the rapids. He's competent, and he actually succeeds in his mission. He gets the cable from Rita and hands it over to the Toad. Job done. Later, when the Toad's master plan is falling apart, he calls for Le Frog's help. Le Frog rushes towards Roddy, ready for an epic battle, and then Roddy just grabs him. There's no fight. Roddy just uses him as a tool, winding up his tongue to get them out of danger. And what does Le Frog do? He basically shrugs. He tells his cousin to give it up, that his plan has failed, and then gives him some fatherly advice before just abandoning him. And at the end of the film, he's seen trying to hitchhike back to Paris, merely annoyed that his minions are dancing instead of helping. This guy was a key player in a plan for mass genocide, and his ultimate fate is a mild inconvenience and a long trip home. No jail time, no epic defeat, nothing. He just pieces out. That is the definition of getting off easy. And what about the hench frogs from Flushed Away? Well, their fate is a bit of a mixed bag. These are ninja frogs, accomplices to Le Frog's mission. They get into a slapstick fight where they get their tongues tangled, and Roddy eventually defeats them by trapping them in ice. But by the end of the movie, they're thawed out and fine. We see 5 of them dancing and having a grand old time while their leader stews. They failed their mission, got frozen solid for a bit, and then went right back to partying. For trained mercenaries, that's not a punishment, that's just a weird afternoon. This next one is a bit of a deep cut. Thimble-nosed Ted from Flushed Away. He's one of the Toad's main hentrats, and he is weird. He's missing a nose and covers the socket with a thimble. He claims he lost it in a knife fight, but he really got run over with a lawnmower. He's got this creepy zombie-like vibe, but is one of the most vicious of the rats. He's there for all the evil moments, holding Rita on a chain, activating the freezing machine. He's armed with a stapler gun in the final battle. So how does this vicious, creepy stapler-wielding rat meet his end? During the final battle, when liquid nitrogen is spraying everywhere, he just slips on a patch of ice and goes flying off screen. That's it. He just whoop, 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 and he's gone. For a guy built up as a detached and cruel villain, that's an incredibly silly and easy out. Now let's talk about the bullies from the farmer's llamas. Hector, Raul, and Fernando. Hector, the alpha llama, puts on this fake kind persona at first, but underneath he is a straight-up monster. He and his 2 lackeys, Raul and Fernando, come to the farm and immediately start exploiting everyone's kindness. They take over, steal the sheep's comfy cushions so they have to sleep standing up, eat all their food, and generally make life miserable. Hector's true nature is revealed when he and his crew trash the barn, and he just scoffs at Shaun, a truly shocking moment for our favorite sheep. He even makes a clear attempt to kill Shaun at the climax of the story. So what happens to these ruthless ruthless, home-wrecking llamas. They are tricked into a cart and sold to someone else. The last we see them, they are being played with by their new owner's daughter. It's a massive downgrade from their alpha status, for sure, and definitely annoying. But come on, they got off so easy. Moving up the ladder of deserved but undelivered punishment, we have Lord Nuth from Early Man. This guy is the tyrannical, greedy leader of the Bronze Age. He invades the Stone Age tribe's peaceful valley, banishes them to the desolate Badlands, and claims their home for himself, all for the sake of progress and profit. He is a pompous, cheating, territorial buffoon. When Doug challenges his professional football team, Real Bronzio, to a match for the valley, Nuth only accepts because he sees a money-making opportunity. He's a terrible sport, trying to discourage Doug by showing him cave paintings of his ancestors being terrible at football. During the big game, when his team is about to lose, he literally knocks out the referee, puts on the uniform, and starts making up fake rules to help his team cheat. This guy has no honor. His final act is to try and steal all the money from the game and escape in a rat mascot costume. So what's his fate? He gets caught by a giant duck, sure, but his final punishment is being removed from his position permanently, arrested, and forced to mine ore. Okay, hard labor in a mine is not fun, but considering he's a despot who stole an entire civilization's land and tried to cheat his way to victory, a prison sentence is pretty standard. He's alive, he's just got a really bad job now. He got off easy. But the king, the absolute president of the You Got Off Easy Club, has to be Trumper from Shaun the Sheep movie. This guy is the absolute worst. He's an animal control officer whose defining personality trait is a deep, burning hatred for all animals. He's an egomaniac who runs the city's animal shelter like a personal kingdom of cruelty. He gets all the latest gadgets just to make his job of capturing stray animals easier. From the moment he shows up and snatches Slip the dog, you know this guy is bad news. His pursuit of Shaun and the flock is relentless and personal. He captures Shaun and Bitzer, locks them up, and mocks them. And when they brilliantly escape by tricking him with a drawing of a hole in the wall, he doesn't give up. He gets even crazier. He follows them all the way back to Mossy Bottom Farm, crawling out from under their caravan. He grabs a scythe, looking like the Grim Reaper, and is fully prepared to end them. He uses a tractor to try and push the entire flock, along with the farmer, into a rock quarry. This has gone way beyond animal control. This is attempted mass murder. He's about to throw Shaun himself into the quarry when the farmer, his memory finally returned, saves the day. So, after all that, after trying to commit a literal massacre, what happens to Trumper? He gets bitten on the foot by Slip. Then a bull charges him and sends him flying over the quarry, right into a giant pile of manure. Okay, that's pretty embarrassing. And yeah, he gets fired from his job, which he deserved. His final fate? We see him working in the fast food industry, wearing a degrading chicken costume to advertise chicken nuggets. Is it humiliating? Yes. Is it a fitting punishment for trying to wipe out an entire farm's worth of beloved characters? Absolutely not. He's alive, he's healthy, he has a new job. Compared to what he tried to do, landing in poop and wearing a chicken suit is getting off incredibly, ridiculously easy. Last in this category, we have to mention Philip, Victor Quartermain's bull terrier from The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Philip is Victor's sidekick and Gromit's rival. He's a bit more malicious than the Tweety's dogs. He's definitely his owner's henchman. He's smart, he's a skilled fighter, and he joins Gromit in that epic dogfight with the fairground airplanes. He's an active participant in Victor's evil plan to kill the Were-Rabbit and marry Lady Toddington for her money. So what's his grand defeat? During the final fight, he just falls into a bouncy castle. And the last we see of him, he's accidentally biting his owner, Victor, who's been stuffed into a rabbit costume. Easy peasy. All right, this next category is about suffering. This is for the villains whose punishments were so perfectly devastating that just dying would have been a mercy. These fates are cruel, they are unusual, and they are, without a doubt, far worse than death. Let's start with a case of pure public humiliation. Lord Victor Quartermain from The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Victor is the epitome of a pompous, arrogant aristocrat. His entire identity is built on his image as a great hunter, a man of high society and a suave suitor to Lady Toddington. He cares nothing for her, of course. He just wants her money. He's cruel, he's manipulative, and he's obsessed with killing the Were-Rabbit, even after he finds out it's just Wallace. His pride and his social standing are everything to him. So what happens? Does he get arrested? Does he get into a fight and lose honorably? No, it's so much worse. Gromit manages to put a giant fake Were-Rabbit costume on Victor. Suddenly, the great hunter becomes the hunted. The townspeople, who he looks down on, form a mob and start chasing him, thinking he's the monster. His true fate is a mystery, but it doesn't matter. For a man like Victor, whose entire world revolves around his ego and reputation, there is no greater punishment. Now, let's talk about physical torment with the Toad from Flushed Away. The Toad is a tragic villain, in a way. He was once the beloved pet of Prince Charles, living a life of luxury, but he was replaced by a rat and cruelly flushed down a toilet. toilet. This event filled him with a genocidal hatred for all rodents. His plan is pure evil, to open the floodgates during the World Cup final, unleashing a tidal wave that will destroy Retropolis and kill every single rat, leaving him to repopulate the sewer with his own tadpole offspring. He's sophisticated, he's manipulative, but he is a would-be mass murderer. His defeat is horrific. Roddy and Rita systematically destroy everything he is. First, his prized collection of royal memorabilia is accidentally shattered by Roddy. This sends him into a rage. Then, his plan is foiled at the last second, but it's his physical fate that is so awful. Roddy tricks him into getting his tongue caught in the massive gears of the floodgate mechanism. Then, the pipe-carrying liquid nitrogen breaks, spraying all over the wave and all over him. He is frozen solid while his tongue is being mangled by industrial machinery. While he was most likely freed and escaped, can you imagine the state he'd be in? Physically and mentally shattered. His life's work, born from his own trauma, has ended in the most painful and humiliating way possible. And now we come to the king, the absolute monarch of fates worse than death, the master criminal whose greatest punishment is his own genius, forever doomed to fail. We are talking about Feathers McGraw. This penguin, this mute, expressionless, diabolical penguin, is in a league of his own. At first, in the wrong trousers, he seems like a simple lodger, but he's a master of manipulation, slowly and silently driving a wedge between Wallace and Gromit, forcing Gromit from his own home. He uses Wallace and the remote-controlled techno trousers to steal the blue diamond from the museum. It's a genius heist that almost works, but he's foiled by Gromit and trapped in a milk bottle before being sent to the zoo for life. For a criminal mastermind, this is a humiliating defeat, but it doesn't end there. In Project Zoo, he escapes and takes over the entire zoo, enslaving the animals to build a diamond mine. His ambition has grown, and again, Wallace and Gromit show up, and after an epic adventure, he is defeated and recaptured. He is returned to his cell, his grand plans once again reduced to rubble. Then comes vengeance most foul. Years later, stewing in his cell, he enacts his most brilliant, most complex plan yet. He reprograms Wallace's Norbot, creating an army of evil gnomes to ruin Wallace's reputation, frame him for the theft of the blue diamond, which Feathers had cleverly swapped for a turnip years ago and hidden in their teapot, and escape with the diamond himself. This is a long con. It's personal. It is vengeance most foul, and it is pure genius. And once again, he almost pulls it off. He has Wallace and Gromit tied up. He has the diamond, but he's foiled by the very Norbot he corrupted and pursued across town in an epic boat chase. And the final moment, the cherry on top of his sundae of suffering, Gromit tricks him. He swaps the diamond back for a turnip. Feathers, thinking he's finally won, leaps onto a passing train to freedom, only to open the bag and find a vegetable. A look of utter defeat as he collapses on that freight car, being carried away to God knows where. A wanted fugitive with nothing to show for his life's work. It's devastating. He is forever trapped in a loop. He will scheme. He will get so close to victory, and Gromit will always be there to snatch it away at the last second, leaving him more broken and humiliated than before. That is true torment. And this is it, the moment you've been waiting for. We've seen redemption, we've seen easy outs, we've seen eternal suffering. Now, it's time for the villains who didn't get a second chance. These are the most brutal ends in the entire Aardman universe. Proceed with caution. We'll start with a quick, quiet, but undeniably dark one. One of the unnamed hench frogs from Flushed Away. While most of his buddies got off easy, one was not so lucky. During the scene on Rita's boat, the jammy dodger, Marcel the Mime Frog, shows up. And in the ensuing chaos, what does he do? He knocks one of the hench frogs into the water. He was pushed into the water, causing him to drown off screen. It's a terrifying way to go, and the fact that it happened so casually, so dismissively, makes it an even more gruesome end. Now let's talk about Pidsley, the cat from Shaun the Sheep. Pidsley is your classic, arrogant, jealous pet. His entire existence is defined by his rivalry with Bitzer the dog. He's a bully to the flock and constantly trying to one-up Bitzer to become the farmer's favorite. He's treacherous, even locking the farmer out of his own house at one point. He lives for the drama and the power struggle of the farm. So what happens to this scheming, arrogant cat? He gets given away to the farmer's niece. His life of scheming is over. Now his life is being dressed in doll's clothes. It's being force-fed imaginary tea at a tea party. It's being carried around upside down. His dignity, gone. His power, gone. That is a fate worse than death. Now we escalate. Big time. Let's talk about the original Queen of Mean, Mrs. Militia Tweety. This woman is pure, concentrated evil. She's greedy, sadistic, abusive, and runs her farm like a POW camp. She takes pleasure in selecting which chickens will be killed. Her solution to failing profits isn't to improve conditions, but to buy a horrifying industrial pie-making machine to turn all her chickens into pies. She is a monster, and her end is perfectly befitting of her crimes. In the climax of Chicken Run, as the chickens are making their escape in their flying crate, she doesn't give up. She goes absolutely insane, grabbing an axe and chasing after them. She manages to get a hold of a rope dangling from the plane and starts climbing up, axe in hand, ready to murder them all in midair. It's a terrifying sight. Ginger tricks her into chopping the rope with her own axe. Mrs. Tweedy plummets downwards, not to the ground, but straight into the safety valve of her own monstrous pie machine. The pressure builds, the warning lights flash, and the whole thing explodes in a massive gravy-filled fireball. Boom! But it's not over. She somehow survives the explosion, comes out from the wreckage, burned, battered, and covered in gravy. And it is then that Mr. Tweedy pushes the heavy barn door down on top of her. It's not clear if Mrs. Tweedy survived, but she was in a massive explosion and then had a building fall on her. She's gone. Absolutely brutal. But what could be more gruesome than that? How about being eaten alive? Let's turn our attention to Her Majesty, Queen Victoria from the Pirates, in an adventure with scientists. The Queen of England, the ruler of the British Empire, and the secret leader of a society of world leaders who eat endangered animals. Yes, you heard that right. She is the head of an exotic creature-eating death cult. Her hatred of pirates is matched only by her desire to eat Polly, the pirate captain's pet dodo, the last of its kind. She is a surprisingly formidable and vicious villain, ready to execute the pirate captain on the spot. Her plan is to serve Polly as the main course at her secret feast aboard her massive ship, the QV-1. She almost succeeds, coming moments away from beheading the poor bird herself. But the pirate captain and his crew, along with a converted Mr. Bobo, manage to save Polly and in the process, sink her ship. The ship goes down, and the queen is left stranded on an island. But she's not alone. She's stranded with all the other rare and exotic creatures she had planned to eat. And as the pirate captain sails away, we see these animals: the dodo, the giant tortoise, the crested newt closing in on her. And then it is completely unknown if Queen Victoria was eaten alive by the rare animals or if she managed to make it to London. The meal probably became the diner. A more karmically perfect and horrifyingly gruesome fate is hard to imagine. And that brings us to our #1 spot. The most gruesome, the most definitive, the most, oh my god, they actually showed that death in the Aardman universe. It can only be Piella Bakewell from A Matter of Loaf and Death. Piella is a masterpiece of a villain. She was once the famous Bakelite girl, a beloved celebrity. But after she gained weight, she was fired and she developed a deep, psychotic hatred for all bakers and went on a killing spree, murdering 12 of them to complete a baker's dozen. Her method? She pretends to fall in love with them, then kills them. She targets Wallace, planning to make him her 13th and final victim. Gromit, as always, figures it out, but Wallace is blinded by love. Piella's evil is revealed in a dramatic confrontation, and she goes full psycho. Her final plan is to deliver a cake to Wallace with a bomb inside. It's a classic villain move. Gromit and Piella's own abused dog, Fluffles, manage to save Wallace, getting the bomb out of the house. The final battle takes place in the Bakelite balloon. Piella, completely unhinged, attacks them with a wrench, but she's foiled. In a desperate attempt to escape, she tries to flee in the balloon. But there's one final fatal detail she forgot. The reason she was fired in the first place. She's too heavy now. The balloon can't carry her weight. It plunges downwards, straight into the local zoo. And where does it land? Right in the crocodile exhibit. We see her fall, we see the crocodiles look up, and then, off screen, we hear it. The sounds are unmistakable. Piella Bakewell, the Bakelite girl, was eaten alive by crocodiles. It's a clear, direct, and unbelievably gruesome end for a truly terrifying villain. And it is, without a doubt, the most gruesome death in Aardman history. It's crazy to think that some of these came from movies and shows we watched as kids, right? Aardman definitely doesn't pull all their punches when it comes to the bad guys getting their comeuppance. Which one do you think is the most gruesome?